But first, Congressman Mark Pocan is with us. He represents the 2nd District of Wisconsin. He's a member and former co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. He's on the Appropriations, Education, and Labor Committees in the U.S. House of Representatives. Pocan.house.gov is the website. Rep. Mark Pocan, the Twitter handle. And Congressman, I understand you may have to leave to go vote, so we're kind of ready for that. But thanks so much for joining us today. And the big headline over at the top of Drudge Report right now is that President Biden's approval ratings are slipping. It seems to me that the coverage of the economy has been extraordinarily one-sided. I'm curious your thoughts on what's going on here.
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons, many of which have nothing to do with Joe Biden. I think one, and it's a really big one, is the issue of inflation, gas prices, food prices, et cetera. And, there's a number of reasons, and I've had many economists now that we've talked to about this. Some of it has to do with the supply chain issue. In fact, most of the increases have to do with supply chain issues. Things were shut down during COVID. Now demand has opened up and supply just can't keep up, and it's a way to raise prices in order to adjust to that. We know the shipping costs for so many things that are made, unfortunately, overseas. Gasoline, you saw the president did a letter the other day. We think oil companies, big oil, is gouging people, taking advantage of the situation. And but that's real. Everyone, sees that and is assuming that has something to do with the president when it really doesn't. Also, there's a little bit of a hangover, I think, on what happened in Afghanistan. While people agree with the decision to pull troops out of Afghanistan, I think some of the visuals towards the end, which we knew we were going to have, unfortunately, regardless, after 20 years of being there with I guess the best you can say is a failed mission to begin with, that has had an impact on the president. But we've passed his infrastructure bill. In the next 24 to 48 hours, we'll be passing the Build Back Better Act. And that's where the American people are really going to see, I think, what the Biden administration is about. That's the tax cut for 40 million American families via the child tax cut. That's lowering costs for American families via lower child care payments and prescription drug reduction and extra care for seniors. Go down the list. There's so many things that are in that bill. And I think, this is when the rubber will hit the road and people will start to realize that those things weren't necessarily directly related to Joe Biden. What we're doing right now it's the president's agenda. We're getting it done as Democrats, and I think you're going to see that turn around pretty seriously.
I sure hope you're right. By the way, for our listeners who may have just tuned in, Congressman Mark Pocan, typically with us on Wednesdays. He's with us today for the hour, or as much of the hour as we have until he may have to leave to vote. And we'll be taking your calls at 202-224-30. I'm sorry, that's the number for Congress. Our telephone number is 202-808-9925. I don't say it that often on the air, so I do say the number for Congress all the time. So Congressman, I threw a very specific question at you to open up. I'm curious, just more broadly speaking, what's on your mind? What is in front of you guys right now? You mentioned that you think the Build Back Better will pass the House. That would be extraordinary. Do you think it'll pass the Senate, or what can we do? Who should we be calling? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, right now, I'd call you a member of the House of Representatives because this vote will be probably tomorrow, maybe the latest Saturday, but it's going to happen. I think we're in a good place on it, but it never hurts to make those calls and let your voice be heard. And then do that same with the Senate after we pass it. The good news, Tom, I did see today, Joe Manchin said he thinks he can do the bill this year. Remember, originally he was saying, it can't happen this year. Not that I follow Joe Manchin's updates daily, but I guess we have to these days. That's a good thing. And, if we can get this passed through the Senate as well, there's so much in there for the average family in the United States that it really will have a big impact. And especially if you have kids, I've done the math on this, Tom. you'll pay no more than 7% of your income on child care, up to 250% of the median income in your state. For many families, someone we just actually hired at our own shop, I've done the math on this. They're going to save about $8,000 a year if they have a child in child care. Add on top of it the child tax cut, you're getting close to $1,000 a month of savings to the average American family. That's money that can go to vacations, that can go to savings for education, college education, can go towards clothing. It's going to have a material effect on people's lives, and that's what's in the Build Back Better Act, and we make those who are the wealthiest and those corporations that often don't pay their taxes pay for it. So it's a really great proposal, and that's what I'm spending most of my time consumed by getting this bill done.
That's great. That's great.